There are deeply ingrained perceptions that have been shaping the worldview of black people for centuries, perceptions that are far from the truth. Let's plunge into the heart of history, back to a time when the misconceptions first sprouted. Picture the era of slavery, a time when the world was a vastly different place, filled with morally ambiguous actions that left an indelible mark on humanity. The enslavement of black people was a heinous act, and the minds of that era needed to justify this inhumanity. Thus, they planted the seeds of these misconceptions, watered them with ignorance, and nurtured them with prejudice. These misconceptions ranged from the absurd to the outright ridiculous, yet they were accepted and propagated widely. Claims such as black people having inferior intelligence or being insensitive to pain were not based on any scientific evidence. They were simply convenient narratives that helped to validate the unjust treatment of an entire race. These narratives painted black people as less than human, as beings incapable of complex thought or deep emotion. The notion that black people are more inclined to criminality was another such fallacy. It was a stereotype carefully crafted to instill fear and mistrust, further alienating black people from society. Similarly, the myth of black people being the cursed children of Ham was propagated to reinforce the idea of their supposed inferiority. This biblical misinterpretation was widely used to justify slavery and discrimination. Then there were the misconceptions about education and technology. Black people were seen as inferior in education and lacking in technological advancements. These notions ignored the impressive civilizations and innovations that originated in Africa, further perpetuating the misguided belief of black people living in primitive or underdeveloped societies. All these misconceptions served a single purpose: to dehumanize black people and justify their mistreatment. As we delve deeper into history, we uncover the roots of these misconceptions and their devastating impact. Let's peel back the layers of these deeply ingrained falsehoods and expose them for what they truly are: baseless myths born out of ignorance and prejudice. One of the oldest, yet most damaging misconceptions is the belief that black people possess inferior intelligence. This misconception is rooted in the scientific racism that was rampant in the 19th and 20th centuries, where pseudoscientific theories were used to justify racial hierarchies. It was a time when biased research and skewed interpretations were employed to propagate the myth that black people were intellectually inferior. Fast forward to today, modern science has thoroughly debunked this lie. Extensive research in genetics, neuroscience, and psychology has shown that intelligence cannot be accurately measured by a single number, nor is it confined to a particular race or color. It is determined by a complex interplay of genetic, environmental, and cultural factors. So, the next time you hear someone say that intelligence is dictated by skin color, remember that this is nothing more than a long-debunked myth. Intelligence is not bounded by race or color. It is a universal trait. Another widely spread lie is that black people do not feel pain the same way as their white counterparts. This misconception has its roots in historical bias and prejudice, and has been dangerously perpetuated in our healthcare systems. It has led to unequal treatment, with black patients often receiving less pain management than their white peers. This belief has serious implications. It not only undermines the basic principles of empathy and care in medicine, but it also risks the lives and well-being of black individuals. However, recent research and evidence debunk this myth entirely. No scientific basis exists to support the claim that there's a racial difference in pain perception. In fact, studies have shown the opposite, with black individuals often reporting higher levels of pain than white individuals, further illustrating the fallacy of this notion. The capacity to feel pain is a shared human experience, not dictated by the color of one's skin. Let's remember this truth and work towards a more equitable world. The stereotype that black people are naturally inclined to criminality is another damaging lie that persists till today. This harmful stereotype has been fueled and perpetuated by selective media coverage and institutional biases. When we turn on the TV or browse the internet, we are often bombarded with images and stories that portray black people as criminals or troublemakers. This skewed representation has a profound impact, reinforcing the stereotype and leading to harmful consequences such as racial profiling and over-policing in black communities. But let's take a moment to dissect this stereotype with cold, hard facts. Studies have shown that crime rates are more closely related to socioeconomic factors than they are to race. Poverty, lack of education, and limited access to quality health care are all major contributors to criminal behavior. These are issues that affect people of all races, not just black people. Furthermore, data from the Bureau of Justice Statistics in the United States shows that white and black people commit crimes at similar rates, yet black people are much more likely to be arrested and incarcerated. This discrepancy is a clear indication of the systemic biases that exist within our criminal justice systems. And it's not just in the United States. A report by the Equality and Human Rights Commission in the United Kingdom found that black people were over 3 times more likely to be arrested than white people. This over-policing contributes to the misconception that black people are more prone to criminal behavior. It's time we challenge these stereotypes and biases. It's time we look at crime as a societal issue, not a racial one. We must recognize that crime is influenced by a complex interplay of factors including poverty, education, and systemic inequality. It's time we shift our focus from blaming racial groups to addressing these underlying issues. Crime knows no color. It is a societal issue, not a racial one. The biblical misinterpretation that black people are the cursed children of Ham is another lie that has been used to justify racial discrimination. This myth, rooted in the biblical story of Noah, his sons, and a curse pronounced on Canaan, Ham's son, has been warped and twisted over centuries. It was used as a theological justification for slavery and racial discrimination, with Ham often incorrectly identified as the progenitor of all black Africans. However, scholars and religious leaders have long since debunked this misinterpretation. Many agree that the story was never intended to be about race. The Bible, in fact, makes no specific reference to skin color in the story of Ham. It's a sobering reminder of how Scripture can be manipulated to serve harmful agendas. Interpretation of religious texts should promote unity and understanding, not division and discrimination. As we have seen, these misconceptions about black people have been used to justify discrimination and inequality. We've walked together through a landscape of myths and misconceptions, each one more damaging than the last. The lie that black people have inferior intelligence is a falsehood that has been used to perpetuate inequality and prejudice. Yet, the reality is far from this. Intelligence is not determined by skin color, but by a host of factors including environment, education, and individual potential. The myth of insensitivity to pain is another damaging stereotype that has led to inadequate medical care for black individuals. Science has unequivocally proven that pain is a universal human experience, irrespective of race. It's a chilling reminder of how these misconceptions can cause actual physical harm. The stereotype of black people being inherently criminal is a lie that has fueled systemic racism within the justice system. Crime is not a racial characteristic. It's a social issue that affects all communities. It's a reflection of socioeconomic conditions, not genetic predisposition. The legend of the cursed children of Ham is a myth that has been used to justify enslavement and discrimination. It's a distortion of religious texts for malevolent purposes. The truth is, no race or group of people is inherently cursed or blessed. The notion that black people are biologically different from whites, inferior in education, prone to violence, and live in primitive or underdeveloped societies is part of a long list of unfounded stereotypes. These ideas have been used to marginalize and dehumanize black people, but they couldn't be further from the truth. Black people, like any other group, have a diverse range of abilities, achievements, and contributions to society. They have excelled and continue to excel in various fields such as science, arts, politics, and sports. The lack of technological advancements in some African countries is not a reflection of the capabilities of black people, but rather a result of complex historical and socioeconomic factors. In debunking these lies, we have uncovered a truth that is richer, more complex, and far more interesting than any stereotype could ever be. The truth that black people, like all people, are diverse, capable, and resilient. The importance of knowledge and understanding in combating these deeply ingrained misconceptions cannot be overstated. We must strive to educate ourselves and others, to challenge these stereotypes and to replace them with facts. We must foster a culture of empathy and understanding, where we see beyond the color of one's skin and acknowledge the shared humanity that binds us all. In this endeavor, each and every one of us has a role to play. We must be willing to question our own biases, to listen, learn, and grow. It's time to challenge these misconceptions, acknowledge the truth, and celebrate the rich and diverse contributions of black people in our global society.
If you found this video informative, we encourage you to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more enlightening content.